just like the Pied Piper, let rest through the streets.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ernie Reyes Jr. from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you're listening to the Justin Harvey Show. Cowabunga, dude.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Justin Harvey Show. Today, we have a spectacular show. A few weeks ago, I had the honor and pleasure of interviewing Ernie Reyes Sr., and I am proud to bring the debut of none other than Ernie Reyes Jr. Welcome to the show, Ernie.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for your time, and, I'm very excited to do this show, and I gotta, give a shout-out to your father, because your dad is just an awesome, awesome guy, so...
That he is. He's, as you know, not only my dad, but my martial arts instructor. And so, we've had a good amount of years now to work, have the privilege to kind of work on films and television with my dad. And that's kind of a very special thing and a very rare thing. So I appreciate that he hooked me up with you, and I'm happy to spend a little time with you.
Oh, absolutely. And before we get into the whole Ninja Turtles thing, you were actually in one of my favorite shows of all time. You were actually in a couple of episodes in Kung Fu: The Legend Continues as the Emperor of China. And
yes.
How was it working with David Carradine and Chris Potter, and how did that come about?
Oh, that was something that they had called me in for, and it was really an awesome. I mean, first of all, Kung Fu is legendary, and especially amongst martial artists, and so being able to work with David Carradine, in Kung Fu Returns was just a very cool, surreal experience to be part of something that I know has such a history in terms of the origin and the creation of Kung Fu the show, and Bruce Lee's association with that, and then the eventual original series, and then for it to come back some 20 years later, again with David Carradine, was an awesome experience. And it was an awesome experience to kind of work with David Carradine, who was an amazing actor, actually, and so it was a privilege to be part of something like Kung Fu. And
also, Ernie, I wanted to mention real quickly too that you were also in another film that I loved, Surf Ninjas, and I really wanted to mention this really quick before we get into the whole Ninja Turtles persona. The fight scene between you and your father, when you find the cave with the swords and all that stuff, that fight scene was very masterful. So.
Well, I appreciate it. Growing up working in films and television, from my first film, The Last Dragon, and Red Sonja, and the television series Sidekicks, I had the great opportunity to be able to work with my dad, as my dad being the fight choreographer for my particular stuff on all those movies, and so it was very awesome to be able to kind of share that experience. Like I said, not only is he my father, not only is he my martial arts instructor, but he was also the fight choreographer that was responsible for all of that work leading up to Surf Ninjas and that fight scene in the cave, swords and the different weapons. And so it was great to be able to kind of share that moment. I mean, it's not too often where father and son and martial artists get to work on a major motion picture like that. So it's a lot of fond memories for me, and I haven't thought about it in a long time. So good times.
Oh, absolutely. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the Ninja Turtles thing. And I recently discovered that that in Ninja Turtles 1, you were in the suit of my favorite Ninja Turtle, Donatello. Talk a little bit about that experience before we jump into the sequel where you play the pizza guy.
Sure.
My question was that tell us about how you got to work in the suit of Donatello and do the martial arts of Donatello in the first movie. So tell us about that transition.
So that transition from sidekicks to kung fu, the legend continues, and I was actually there hadn't been a lot of activity in terms of my career as an actor. As you all know, being an actor, things kind of ebb and flow, especially when you've been doing things since you were a young child. And so one day I was actually just at my dad's house, and I got a call from Pat Johnson, who was the stunt coordinator and the fight choreographer for the first original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film. And I had known Pat actually from my martial arts days competing with my dad back when I was about 8 years old. And Pat was the fight choreographer and stunt coordinator for the original Karate Kid films, which he actually tried to bring me in on those films at that time. And that was prior to me actually working as an actor. Flew my dad and I out to the set, and they had written kind of this scene where my dad and I were going to do a demonstration prior to the main fight in Karate Kid. And the day, went on, and shooting kind of went behind schedule. And so we never got a chance to shoot that scene. But we were on set, and we were kind of waiting on this standby for Pat to kind of give us a signal and have my dad and I come in there and do our thing. And it never really happened. But Pat called me up quite a few years later. I think it was about 10 years later, and had said to me, I'm doing this film, kind of a strange idea. It's produced by Golden Harvest, who obviously is responsible for all the Bruce Lee and Jet Li and Jackie Chan films, and I was obviously a big fan of Golden Harvest. And he said, we have 4 guys from Hong Kong. This is the first time that we're going to be bringing Hong Kong stuntmen to work on an American production, and one of the guys hurt his back on the production. And so, I thought of you, and I wanted to know if you'd be interested in doing some martial arts for the character Donatello in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And at that time, I actually was familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because of my younger brother, Santino. And earlier that year, I had bought in some of the action figures, so I was aware of it. And I'd never really done any costume work. I know that and was familiar with Jim Henson, which I learned was doing all the costumes. I said, let's try it. Let's do something different. So they flew me out to London, where Jim Henson had his creature shop, and I got molded. And then we, cut to, we were in North Carolina in the middle of summer, and it was about 102 degrees and 100% humidity, and wearing these big latex costumes, doing fight scenes all day. But it was actually a wonderful experience. It's one of those rare times where you're making a film, and you just know, man, this is something special. With Jim Henson and all the great, actors and Golden Harvest and New Line Cinema, you could just feel it when you're on set. So it was an awesome experience, lots of hard work. And, for me, being part of the Ninja Turtles, it's just been a real blessing. I mean, like I said, having worked in films and television for over 30 years, it's only once in a while that you come across a project or roles, that that you can have people some 30 years later, still loving those projects and loving those characters and loving those films. So I'm really honored, actually, to be part of the Ninja Turtles and to see, now multiple generations of people, kind of falling in love with the Ninja Turtles. So it was an amazing experience to be able to, work with New Line, which, began to kind of forge a new relationship, and Golden Harvest, who made all the films of all my favorite martial arts heroes growing up, as a kid, and then to work on, a project like Ninja Turtles that my younger brother, was so excited, more excited than anything that I had ever worked on. And so it was just one of those magical experiences.
That sounds great. And before we jump into Ninja Turtles 2, I wanted to ask this quick question. Were you for the third installment of the Turtles? Were you ever approached about the third film? What happened with that? Because I was disappointed that you weren't in the third film.
Oh, well, thanks, Justin. I was approached to actually kind of reprise my work as Donatello's stuntman, but I was actually, at the time, we were in development and close to production on Surf Ninjas, so that's kind of why I wasn't able to follow up on the third Ninja films, but got to make Surf Ninjas instead, which has been a fan favorite, and something, like I said, working with my dad was just awesome memories and a very cool project that I'm very proud of.
Mm-hmm. And I did hear that you liked better in the Ninja Turtles that you didn't have to dress up in the suit, because your role in the Ninja Turtles 2 wasn't as tedious to do, because the suits were so hot that it was hard to breathe in the suits. So.
Yeah, I mean, I say jokingly, but, of course, every actor, if you're going to work in a costume or out of a costume, you'd rather be out of the costume. And so that was an amazing transition, kind of working, and doing all the martial arts for the character of Donatello. And then when the producers kind of wrote me into the second film as a human character, and then I didn't have to be in the suits, and I saw all the guys, because we filmed those movies back to back, 2 summers in a row in Wilmington, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. The second time that I came back to North Carolina in the middle of summer, 100 degrees with 100% humidity, I really was happy to be out of the costumes and out of the rubber suits and, acting alongside my 4 favorite superheroes.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you could remember, Ernie, was any of your lines cut from the Ninja Turtles 2 that you might have wanted to keep in the film that were actually cut? Because I know when they do a film, they film a lot, but then they have to cut so much for time reasons. And I wondered if there was anything to do with you that was in the film that got cut that you would have loved to have seen stay in there.
No, actually, I hadn't really thought about that, and I know that it happens frequently in films and television productions where you shoot scenes and in the editing process they realize that, they don't need those scenes or don't want those scenes, and so they kind of end up on the cutting room floor. But in Secret of the Ooze if my memory serves me correctly, there weren't any scenes that were actually cut out that we filmed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, it's really an honor to be doing this, because you're a big part of my childhood. So.
Well, thanks, Justin. I appreciate that.
And
I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, absolutely. And I do know that last year, like on your social networks, you would post there would be screenings of Ninja Turtles 2 and pizza at this event, and you would actually go to these events. Can you talk about these events, because I've never been to one, and I just thought that these were very interesting.
Yeah, actually, we started to do some sort of kind of revival, retro programming with the Alamo Drafthouse. A good buddy of mine who's the chief programmer over there, Greg, called me up one day and said, hey, we'd love to be able to do a double bill of Ninja Turtles and Surf Ninjas at the Drafthouse in Austin with original 35mm prints. And I thought, that sounds like a cool idea, and really didn't know, what everyone's reaction was going to be or the response to the event would be. But I said, yeah, that sounds like a great time. You know, I hadn't seen those films in forever, and much less an original 35mm print of those films. And so Greg brought me out alongside the Alamo Drafthouse, and we put on these a double bill of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, and Surf Ninjas, and those shows were sold out pretty quickly after having been released online, and we filled up, and we ended up having, you know, 2 great nights of some fun movies, and it was really quite a surreal experience to see those films up on the big screen on, you know, original 35mm prints, which the Alamo Drafthouse owns personally. It was really just kind of very surreal experience, you know, brought me back to the times when I was, you know, watching those films for the first time on the big screen. So it was really cool because, you know, the audience reaction after the films and even during them, you know, people came up to me and talked to me about, you know, having watched those films when they were a kid on VHS and wearing them out and how much those films meant to their childhood and growing up. And it was just a totally cool event all around.
And I was going to say, Ernie, I forget the name of the film, but I saw a tweet by you that here soon you're going to be playing, for the first time in a role, you're going to be playing the villain of the film, like the villain of the film. And, you know, I looked at the trailer last night, and it looks really good. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you feel?
Yeah, it's a film called Ninja Apocalypse. It's kind of post-apocalyptic ninja indie film that's actually a good friend of mine who was the fight choreographer and stunt coordinator of the film, Kim Do, gave me a ring one day and said, hey, I'm doing this kind of cool project. It's kind of ninjas, post-apocalyptic, some cool fight scenes. And I really hadn't done any projects in quite some time at that point. And he said, you know, would you be willing to come in there? It is, you know, the villain, so I'm not sure how you feel about that. I was like, man, that sounds like a great time. So, you know, we worked, you know, we did a lot in a very short period of time, as you can imagine, on kind of independent ninja films. But it came out great, and the director, who has a special effects background, had a vision for a very kind of fun, cool film. And from the looks of things, they kind of did what they set out to do. And so, you know, like I said, I was kind of pretty much stepped away from acting, to tell you the truth. Wasn't really pursuing anything. Call came from out of left field, and it turned out to be, you know, a great thing and a great project for kind of this independent ninja film. So I'm kind of excited and hopeful for the guys and for the team of people that put together, you know, the film, that it hopefully everybody likes it and it goes well.
Oh, absolutely. And you yourself, you're also a martial arts instructor, correct, as well?
Yeah, I've been doing martial arts, you know, my whole life. My dad's my instructor, had his first martial arts school before I was born. So I've been teaching martial arts directly, indirectly for my whole life, really. You know, kind of following in the footsteps of my dad and everything that he taught me. And even currently now, you know, I kind of make my rounds across the country, you know, once a month or so, and travel to different states and kind of share my experiences as an actor and as a martial artist with kids all over the country. So I feel pretty excited about that, too. You know, a lot of these kids martial arts too, or kind of share my martial arts experience with, aren't even old enough to even know the films that I did or see them when they first came out. Their parents do, and so it's kind of a cool thing to be able to kind of share my martial arts experience with kids that belong to people who grew up watching some of the stuff that I did.
And I was gonna get your thoughts on this too. There is a new Ninja Turtles movie being made by Michael Bay, and you know, I would be surprised if you do not get contacted, you know, about this film. I mean, it would be great to to see you actually do something with this film.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, I do know that they have a plan to make 3 films. The next film is actually coming out I believe in August. So they're already done with the filming and the editing and kind of putting together the last pieces of the puzzle together for the new film and its release, which I think is going to be humongous. And I think that they're probably going to do a great job. I mean, I have no clue, so I have no insider information about how the film looks or how it's playing, but I think that they are going to probably do a new take on a film, and what comes with that is people have a reaction to this and that, and a lot of times it's not everybody has all the information, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to be a film that all Ninja Turtle fans are going to enjoy, and you can't satisfy everybody, but I think they're going to do a pretty good job in this next Ninja Turtles. That's just my feeling. Like I said, I don't have any inside information, on what the film is and what it looks like and what the story is, but I'm excited to see the Ninja Turtles come back around again anyway.
Oh, absolutely, me too, because like I said, Ernie, I grew up on it, and I wanted to ask you too, I know you have taught a lot of students and stuff, but because I've probably told you about my situation, but have you ever taught anyone with someone that's, possibly disabled or in a wheelchair? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've had some, I've come across people that have been disabled who have been in my seminars or classes along the way. It hasn't been too frequent, to be quite honest with you. There have been some people that I have taught in some classes that I've taught to not so much people in wheelchairs, but people who have lost their ability to see and things like that. But, I haven't actually had an opportunity to train somebody who has been in a wheelchair or anything like that. But I do believe that there's a way to find for people to exercise and, move their bodies around, regardless of the challenges that everyone has, and they're all kind of unique to themselves, including yourself. But I think my dad might have had a little bit more experience, having taught many more people than I could have ever taught. I do teach here and there, and I travel the country and do seminars and things like that. But my dad has been teaching, for as long as I've been living, and pretty much every single day. So I think he probably has had a little bit more experience in terms of teaching people that have had some, extra challenges.
And what was it like to be like a young actor on you? Was it very complicated? Because I know, like, young kids, when you're very young, you have to act and you have to go to school and you have to do your chores. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, I mean, it's, whenever you take a kid and they're working professionally, as a minor, there's always things that are, I don't know if it's complicated, but there's always things that are different than kind of the normal childhood upbringing, just the fact that you're working all the time. But really, honestly, Bruce Lee, was my hero, is still my hero, and I really grew up wanting to be just like him. So by the time that I actually got into films and television, we're doing martial arts in films and in television shows, it was really more than anything just a dream come true. So, sure, I had to, have tutors on the set, and, you kind of go to school for 20 minutes, and then you go and you work, and then as soon as you break down, you go to school again, and you kind of have to bounce back and forth. And it seems like there's a lot to juggle, and there are some sacrifices, in terms of growing up just because you're working so much. But I wouldn't change it for the world. It was really just the best time that I can think of in terms of my childhood, working on those first films and, like The Last Dragon and Red Sonja and Sidekicks and the Ninja Turtles and Surf Ninjas. Those were all prior to me becoming an adult. And so, I look back at those times and go, man, what a ride. And I'm incredibly grateful to have experienced all that stuff. So it's definitely not a negative thing. It comes along with all that stuff that you can imagine, but it was definitely a positive experience, and I look back at those times with that perspective.
Wow, that's amazing. And one of my final questions, Ernie, and then after we finish this interview, I'm gonna have you just do one more take of the intro, just in case the audio didn't turn out well. That way I don't have to. That way I don't have to call you back and bother you. But what was it? Talk about working with The Rock in The Rundown, because that was just amazing, and that fight scene between you and The Rock, it's just, it's amazing. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I haven't done an interview in a very, very long time, but as I recall all these, great moments, the first thing that comes to my mind is that I'm just incredibly lucky and incredibly grateful to have all these experiences. From The Last Dragon, like I said, and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Red Sonja, and my own television show on ABC, Sidekicks, produced by Disney and Motown, and all these amazing things, Ninja Turtles, Surf Ninjas, and then even, The Rundown with The Rock. It was just, how could you not be excited about working with, pretty much the biggest, movie star in the world and the number one wrestler and, The Rock. I mean, and then be able to kind of have the scenes that I had, and, it was just an amazing experience. And, The Rock is just an incredibly cool guy, so down to earth. We were able to hit it off right away. And, for me to have that scene with him and be able to have that fight scene, I mean, I don't even know what I can say other than I'm tremendously grateful. And really, nobody had seen me do any martial arts since Surf Ninjas. In between Surf Ninjas and The Rundown, nobody really saw, I wasn't really working in between those time periods. And so, all that hard work that goes into training and being ready when they call, kind of all paid off. And so The Rundown for me was the transition from Ninja Turtles and Surf Ninjas into a whole new period of my life, and it was the beginning of those stages. Like, here I am as an adult, and having an opportunity to do these great fight scenes with great actors. It's just, the whole thing brings back fond memories.
Oh, amazing. And to wrap this up, and then we could do the intro, I would like to say personally to you, Ernie, and to your dad, thank you so much for everything that you've done in the movie industry, and thank you so much for letting my dream come true to talk with you and interview you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time out. And, my dad called and said, hey, I just did an interview with this guy named Justin, and he really is a big fan and would love to interview you. And I said, yeah, it sounds like lots of fun. So I appreciate it. I appreciate, all the fans who've enjoyed, some of the work that I've done over the years. And so it's a good time to remember all those great things.
Oh, absolutely. And give my audience your final thoughts for your fans. I mean, this is your moment. Anything that you want to pass along on the show? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, like I said, anybody who's, watched any of the films or television shows that I, made growing up or even when I was an adult, I'm really appreciative of that, and it really takes time. Sometimes, I grew up working as an actor, and sometimes as a kid you don't really understand and appreciate the people who enjoy what you're doing because you're kind of just doing what you're doing and you're not really thinking about people or fans or an audience. You're just kind of doing your thing. And for me, it's probably taken some time to really kind of have it settle in that there are, a lot of people out there that have enjoyed, the work that I've done and everything that it's taken to that everything that it's taken to get to that place where I could work on those films and television shows as a martial artist, as an actor. And I'm really thankful to all my fans and very appreciative of the support. And, you know, I pretty much retired more recently from acting and really wasn't pursuing it as I started a family and got married and have kids now. And more recently, you know, I guest starred on NCIS LA, which kind of came from left field. It was at a point where I'd already kind of decided that I wasn't going to focus too much time pursuing an acting career, and I, you know, was offered a role by NCIS LA that has turned out to be something that I'm very, very excited about. The role was, as an actor, I feel, you know, one of the best roles that I've had. You know, it kind of reignited my passion for acting and my love for acting. And I really do hope over the course of time that I have the opportunity to continue to make films and television when and wherever that fits into the grand scheme of things. And I hope to, you know, bring some more enjoyment to the people that enjoy what I do. So I appreciate you giving me the time and space to kind of, you know, tell everybody thank you.
Well, you're always welcome on the show, Ernie, and my final thoughts before we end the show and, you know, do other stuff that we need to do. The great thing about you having kids, Ernie, is because you can pass along Surf Ninjas and Ninja Turtles and Ninja Turtles 2 to your family for generations, and it's going to live on.
Yeah, you know, I've had the pleasure of, you know, sitting and watching Surf Ninjas and Ninja Turtles with my kids, and it's an amazing experience to kind of look back on those films and then see your own kids enjoying them and going, hey, Dad, you know, can you grow your hair out again like you had in Surf Ninjas? Like, I don't know if that's possible, honey, but I'm glad that you like the movie. So, you know, it's a treat all the way around to, like I said, be part of so many great projects. I couldn't be more thankful and grateful to have experienced all that stuff. And, you know, like I said, hopefully look forward to working on some new stuff.
Oh, absolutely, because I plan on watching anything new that you have. I mean, like I said, I've been watching you for years, and I want to tell my listeners, make sure and follow Ernie on Facebook and Twitter. And do you want to go ahead and give out those links before I end the show?
Yeah, that's just Ernie Reyes Jr. That's my Twitter, and I'm also on Facebook, so you can find me there as well. And, yeah, definitely follow and support everything that I'm doing. I appreciate, you know, like I said, everybody's support. So, and hopefully I can come through with some more good stuff in the future.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you for being on the show.
All right, thanks, Justin.
My pleasure.